What if one of the biggest superhero flops of the decade is about to become an even bigger problem for Warner Brothers? Just days after Supergirl made a disappointing exit from theaters, its digital release is now facing another wave of criticism. And according to many online reactions, the movie isn't finding the comeback DC Studios was hoping for. Instead of rebuilding momentum, it's creating even more questions about James Gunn's leadership, David Zaslav's strategy, and the future of the DC Universe itself. Now, Warner Brothers executives are once again defending the film, pointing fingers at social media, toxic fandoms, and online backlash. But is that really the reason behind the movie's struggles? Or are they refusing to admit a much bigger problem? We're breaking down everything that was said, what fans are saying now, and why this story could have major consequences for DC moving forward. Welcome back, everyone. Today is August 3rd, 2026, and the controversy surrounding Supergirl continues to grow. Even though the film has already completed its theatrical run, the conversation is far from over. In fact, things may actually be getting worse. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav, DC Studios co-head James Gunn, lead actress Millie Alcock, and screenwriter Anna Nogueira have all found themselves under increasing pressure as criticism surrounding the film refuses to slow down. James Gunn personally approved the screenplay after saying he reviewed it multiple times before production began. Anna Nogueira wrote the script, Millie Alcock became the face of the project, and Warner Brothers invested heavily in bringing the film to theaters. But instead of launching a new era for the DC Universe, the movie has become one of the franchise's most controversial releases in recent years. Now the focus has shifted away from theaters and onto the film's digital release. Warner Brothers was hoping that premium digital rentals and purchases would help rebuild momentum after the disappointing box office performance. Instead, early reactions suggest the opposite may be happening. Across social media, more viewers are finally getting a chance to watch the movie from home, and a new wave of opinions is beginning to surface. Many of those reactions have been overwhelmingly negative. Some viewers have argued that the movie failed to improve even outside the theater experience. Others have gone as far as comparing it to some of the most criticized superhero films released over the past 2 decades. Whether those comparisons are fair or not, one thing is becoming clear. The digital release hasn't suddenly changed public opinion. Instead, it has reignited the debate. People are once again discussing the screenplay, the dialogue, the overall direction of the story, and the creative decisions that shape the film from beginning to end. For Warner Brothers, that's a difficult position to be in. Normally, studios hope a digital release gives audiences a second chance to discover a movie. Positive word of mouth can sometimes help a film recover after a disappointing theatrical run. But in Supergirl's case, many observers believe that recovery simply isn't happening, and that's where today's biggest development begins. According to the latest discussion surrounding the film, Warner Brothers executives are becoming increasingly concerned that the movie may not deliver the turnaround they had hoped for through digital sales either. If that's true, it creates an even bigger challenge for DC Studios moving forward. Because now, the conversation isn't just about a disappointing box office performance, it's about whether Supergirl can generate meaningful interest anywhere. At the center of that discussion is Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav. Over the past several months, Zaslav has repeatedly defended the company's strategy while standing behind James Gunn's long-term vision for the DC Universe. However, reports continue suggesting that Zaslav's own future with the company could soon be changing. Industry speculation has pointed toward a possible leadership transition sometime later this year, with discussions surrounding corporate restructuring and Warner Brothers' broader business plans continuing behind the scenes. Whether those reports ultimately prove accurate remains to be seen. But there's no question that the disappointing performance of Supergirl has added even more pressure during an already challenging period for the company. And now, following the film's difficult theatrical run and the criticism surrounding its digital release, David Zaslav has once again stepped forward to defend the project. According to Zaslav's latest remarks, he believes much of the online conversation surrounding Supergirl has been driven less by the movie itself and more by the way discussions unfold across social media. He argued that modern blockbuster releases face a completely different environment than they did years ago. In his view, negative reactions can spread almost instantly, shaping public perception long before many people have even had a chance to watch the film for themselves. Zaslav also suggested that a loud segment of online users can dominate the conversation, creating an atmosphere that discourages balanced discussion. He describes certain online campaigns as being motivated more by outrage than by genuine interest in reviewing the movie on its own merits. From his perspective, that's one of the biggest challenges studios now face whenever a major franchise is released. He also echoed comments James Gunn has made in previous interviews about the increasingly hostile nature of online fandoms. According to Zaslav, the people behind the film, including James Gunn, Millie Alcock, and members of the creative team, have all been forced to deal with intense criticism throughout the movie's release. At the same time, many critics completely disagree with that explanation. Their argument is much simpler. They believe the biggest issue wasn't social media at all, it was the movie itself. Since the film reached digital platforms, a fresh wave of viewers has shared their thoughts online, and much of the discussion has centered on the screenplay, character development, dialogue, pacing, and several creative decisions made throughout the story. For those critics, the reaction isn't the result of organized campaigns. They see it as audiences expressing disappointment after finally watching the film. And that's why this debate continues to divide opinions. Zaslav, however, remains optimistic about the movie's future. He reportedly expressed confidence that Supergirl could eventually build a stronger reputation over time, suggesting that some films perform better years after release than they do during their initial run. He also pointed to the upcoming streaming release as another opportunity for the movie to reach a much larger audience. According to his view, theatrical numbers and early digital sales don't necessarily tell the entire story. The next major test will come when the film becomes available to subscribers on HBO Max, where millions of existing users will be able to watch it without purchasing an individual rental. Zaslav also defended James Gunn's creative direction for the DC Universe. He emphasized that expanding the franchise means taking creative risks, exploring different stories, and not allowing every online controversy to dictate future decisions. In his opinion, if filmmakers constantly react to every wave of criticism, it becomes much harder to build a long-term cinematic universe with a consistent vision. He also addressed the online environment surrounding the release, saying that personal attacks directed at cast members and filmmakers only make those challenges even greater. Whether people agree with that assessment or not, it's clearly become a major part of Warner Bros.' public response to the movie's reception. Now here's where the conversation becomes even more interesting. While Warner Bros. Continues focusing on streaming as the next chapter of Supergirl's release, many fans are asking a different question altogether. Can streaming actually change the public narrative? Or has the overall perception of the film already been established? That's the question everyone seems to be debating right now. Now, this is where many people remain unconvinced. Warner Bros. Appears to be placing a lot of hope on the film's streaming debut, believing it could introduce Supergirl to a much larger audience. But many critics argue that streaming alone isn't likely to change the overall perception of the movie. The reasoning is simple. If viewers weren't interested enough to see it in theaters or pay for a digital rental, it's difficult to believe millions of new fans will suddenly subscribe just to watch one film. Of course, some existing HBO Max subscribers will probably give it a chance because it's already included with their subscription. But that's very different from driving a massive wave of brand new customers, and that's why many people see the current messaging from Warner Bros. As another round of damage control rather than a sign of confidence. So far, studio executives have acknowledged that the movie fell short of expectations. However, they still haven't fully described it as a major failure. Instead, the focus has shifted toward future opportunities, digital platforms, streaming numbers, and long-term performance. Whether that strategy works is something only time will answer. For now, Supergirl remains one of the most talked about DC projects of the year, and the debate surrounding James Gunn's leadership, David Zaslav's comments, and the future of the DC Universe isn't slowing down anytime soon. So now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Warner Bros. Is right to stay optimistic about Supergirl's streaming release, or do you believe the film's reception has already been decided? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to The Woke Watch, and turn on notifications for more Hollywood news, box office updates, and entertainment stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.